Someone you work with, picture them in your mind. You give them one of these. Do you? You got a doctor's order that says they can use a cane. We have to adapt. We have to know the person as a whole. Canes are mostly, they're the least assistive device. We talked all the time about wide base of support, like a baseball player, a basketball player, Tai Chi. That's why sometimes that helps with balance training. This is a narrow base of support. So when we use it, even when I talk to my family members, oh no, Anne-Marie, it can be like this. Try to use it opposite. So the slide this morning said, if this is my weak leg, I want the cane to help my weak leg, and they go together in a wide base of support, I can put minimal weight and then keep going. But really, maybe the best thing about a cane is it gives me a feel for the floor. It's not really the weight bearing. It builds my confidence. And if I'm going through a doorway, it kind of gives a reminder to you to give me some extra space. So that's when we use the cane. Not as much, you don't see a lot of people in the center using them. And when you let go, they go down. And you know the other thing, it's kind of a pet peeve about these devices. They make noises, and then you start associating that noise to the person. Oh, here comes so-and-so. They're more than their cane. So a lot of people will use like a wooden cane, you know, if it's long-term. The handle can be offset so that the weight goes through it, or you can have different styles of handles. The hurricane, you've seen those, haven't you, advertised on TV? Like a tri-base on them, and they have a little bit of swivel. Those are a little bit better. You can actually modify these canes and screw on like a hurricane base, a little base to it. Drug Mart. Drug Mart has, in my mind, and I'm saying them, Drug Mart, has very reasonable priced equipment. And for things that you don't have to have the doctor's prescription or it's going to be private pay, can be a great resource. So if that kind of cane isn't going to give us enough support, maybe a quad cane. Quad being 4, they have the same tips. Bring your device to Drug Mart or whatever store with you so you can actually try. It's almost like Chevrolet doesn't make parts that work on Fords. You know, Drive Medical doesn't make parts that work on Carex or Guardian. So you might have a set of these that you think you can switch out and use for somebody else and they just don't fit. So bring it with you so that you can try it. Most of the, when you buy these kind of tips or something in the store, most of them now have like a outline on the box that tells you what the diameter, so if it's 1 inch or 3/4 of an inch, and you can compare it before you buy it. Otherwise, you can open the box and secretly try it and then put it back. The thing about the quad cane, they are adjustable. I'm going to ask everybody to stand up. We didn't make you get into groups to discuss questions, so the least we can do is make you stand up. If you're going to fit a cane, find where your hip bone is, right about there. Your arm's going to have a little bend. That way you can put the support through. How is this for me? Shocker. I'm tall. Anne-Marie, did you know you're tall? No, when did that happen? So a quad cane. Now you'll notice they have the flat side. That's designed to go toward your body, and the broader side sticks out so that it's increasing your base of support. And it would be the same thing. If this is my weaker leg or the one I'm trying to help compensate, I move those two forward, weight on it, and then step. So kind of picture in your head, right side with the cane, that's the weaker, I put the weight on the cane, and then step forward. Okay? While we're here, what other exercise can we do? We're going to do the anti-computer exercise. And that is when your shoulder blades go way back and you squeeze while you do what Stephanie said, pull in your tummy. Isn't that Paulo? You need to do that. Okay? Every 20 minutes. And if your doctor told you to do it, you would do it. Okay, thank you. Yeah. So that's the cane. These can be good. People after a stroke. I have seen some that have wheels on the front too because it's heavy. And the trouble with a lot of folks we work with is the whole coordinating thing. And then where do I put my bag? And, so it doesn't always work. But if you have two wheels in the front, sometimes you can get one that rolls with you. So it's kind of like a rolling walker on the side. I haven't used my slides. Standard cane, $15 to $40. Probably wouldn't get it through insurance. I would just buy it. You get some that fold too, not as stable. Quad cane, maybe $30 to $60. It is covered under Medicare. Drug Mart will help you get that through Medicare or whatever other provider you use. It's kind of heavy. Not many people we work with, but there are a few that have crutches, and I didn't bring one to demonstrate. It's interesting when you work with somebody with crutches. Have you ever do you know how to use crutches? And they all say, no, but I played with them when I was a kid, and so you're like, okay, so you know. So the crutches, you gotta watch, you have nerve coming from your cervical spine that pass under your armpits. You have to be careful you don't put the weight through that. You have to be careful you don't put too much weight on your wrists. And the reason why a lot of people we work with don't use them is because they're hard. If you're an athlete and you can't put weight on one leg, then you do that swing through kind of gait and you can go. That's only if you're in high school, right? And after that, it's hard to use crutches. Something that can help though are the forearm crutches, loft strand crutches. They're also called Canadian crutches. Sometimes people use just one and they can use it across from their weaker side and walk. And we do have a few folks that use that. Some folks that have spina bifida or cerebral palsy, that they're in more of a flexed posture, sometimes use that. What's good about that is you can do it as a alternating gait, more of a typical gait. And one set every 5 years under Medicare and Medicaid. Watch the tips. They do sell tips in the stores. Where? Drug Mart. That have a ice pick kind of thing that you can add to the bottom of them. So in winter that might help. And now we get to the walkers. Why don't you just give them a walker, Anne-Marie, and they'll work better, they'll walk better? Well, I don't know. It's that balance of independence and need, right? I think sometimes we give walkers to people. I think one of the things on the slide was like, well, that's a disadvantage. The advantage is they really increase your base of support. After surgery, hip replacement, knee replacement, it'll be necessary to use one. But doesn't it make you feel old? Did you ever try going through a door when you have a walker? You open it, now what do? You have to back up, you gotta use your butt, you gotta go around. Or I wait till somebody opens a door for me, and that changes kind of my whole dynamic, doesn't it? You do look at the ground more, you do round your shoulders, you do this. But they can be very, very helpful for keeping you walking. So again, it's that balance. The wheels, okay, the standard walker would be the most basic, back to our model about the most basic. The pickup style, 80, or what do they cost? About 40 to 60, $80. And the pickup style is more like when you're first in the hospital. If you're gonna use it in the community, a lot of people use the rolling style. 5-inch wheels are covered under Medicare, Medicaid with the walker, one every 5 years. And the wheels help you to have a more normal way of walking, one leg, the other leg. It doesn't slow you down like the pickup, right? But what do we do about the rear legs? That's the problem. That's when tennis balls come in and squeaky noises and the person that drives you nuts because they live at a home and they Don't they know that those things are all worn out? Nobody spent $7 to $15 to get new rear glides. Do you know what I'm talking about? So this is a style of a glide brake, which means when I put my weight on the back, these will go up and it will brake for me. I like those. I got those for my dad. You know, he's a chemical engineer. It's like a piston. You know, no, well, whatever, Dad. Yeah. It's a piston for my walker. And the other option might be ski glides or glides. They have them with a fixed diameter that you put in, or there's a universal one that you can use a Phillips head screwdriver and it'll expand. So those are nice. $7 at Walmart, $15 at Drug Mart. Yeah. They do wear out eventually, but I like these. They're more durable. Tennis balls are for playing tennis. Rollators. I want a walker like she's got. Do you ever hear that? My housemate's got a walker. Why can't I have one like they have? I'm going to write a referral to PT, and the reason is because so-and-so has one and they want theirs. Rollator is kind of a fancy name for a walker. The problem is they're classified, if I'm saying this right, they're classified like a walker and they're more expensive. So we don't get these covered through insurance. They'll only pay the amount that a standard walker with wheels would be, which would be like $90. And the vendors won't accept $90 payment in full for this. You couldn't even like add your extra money to make up for it. The legislation doesn't allow for that. They have to accept payment in full for whatever they issue. So the rollator builds on the idea that you're trying to normalize your walking. Okay, here's something for you. What do you think? Todd? You're assessing me, evaluating my skills. It's too short? Right, see, you're already observing. It's lower than my hip. Too low, which would encourage this. 6'2", the truth is most stuff goes 6'1", 6'2". But yeah, I could probably adjust it to be higher. Yeah. So the rollator, the front wheels swivel. Some models, the back wheels swivel too. Those are less stable because they're more mobile. The handbrakes would slow you down, but that really what you need to do is walk slower, not try to brake yourself. If balance is the issue, this can be good. If need for physical support, these are not so good. Because if you need the physical support, what happens is it scoots out on you. And then you lock it, which is something I don't know that all our folks are able to do so much. But then when you go to stand up, one hand on the chair, one hand on the walker, and you stand up and then you take the locks off. Somebody invented these crazy seats. Have you seen anybody that we work with try to use the seat? Hey! You know, ooh, yeah. Why can't I sit on my walker and go around the center? In your home maybe, but not at the day program. And then I kind of like the baskets are nice because they're sturdy, but the bags, you can keep items without everybody seeing them if you have the bag. And all of these you can put bags on, and you've seen some of the bags on the back of wheelchairs. So I don't usually recommend this unless they have a good gait and they just need it for balance and that they know they can lock it. And I usually tell them they shouldn't sit on the seat unless somebody's with them. or a couple people I've said don't sit on the seat, but we'll see. So we can go through the slides to double check if we miss something. Visual perception of the person being old. Glide brakes. Glide brakes are not covered under insurance. They're about $60 to $70. If somebody's in the community, I would get them. I like them. Or the ski glides. Ski glides. The different, just as a thing with the walkers, it seems like the ones that have the push button last longer. They click. There's a style that has paddles, or those big round. And when you push down on those, they get weak, don't they? They kind of loosen up pretty fast. So I tend to like that button style better. And the rollators. You can get them at Costco, I think, kind of cheaper. Pretty much a lot of places, you'd be surprised. Probably about, I'd expect to pay about $200. You can get less than that, but the quality you have to kind of watch for. I've actually ordered more lately, standard width but bariatric, because the standard it's getting cheap, you know. So the wide width of these for bariatric is very difficult to get through doors. So it's rare that we'll recommend a wide width one. But you do have to watch people hit the tires when they walk. How are we doing on time? Medium, fair enough. The three-wheeled depends. For a tiny person, they get around the house better. But you should try it before you buy it. Reverse walker, for individuals that have cerebral palsy, and I don't have one here, you know, deflection at the hips and the knees and the feet. And I've walked like this all my life, but now I'm getting lower. You know, the reverse walker is something where you stand up and you have to reach back. It can really help. But they're bulky, they're heavy, and they cost about $400. You get one every 5 years under Medicaid, and you have to get therapy involved and justify it. But they're kind of nice, especially in a day program if you can leave it there, because they're hard to fold, they're heavy. These are hard to fold. I would much rather have one with wheels so I can keep it in my car than one of these, because these are over 20 pounds usually. A Mary Walker, just kind of slipped this one in there. Have you ever seen these? More in long-term care centers. They used to be pretty big. You get the person that's a wanderer or kind of, you know, active, and they can sit, stand, sit, stand. They can get the anti-tippers. They can get kind of tippy. You don't see them a lot anymore. And this bar is usually a little too low for them to hold on to. So it seems like mostly we'll get those for people if they sit and move by moving their legs. So not so much that they do the sit and stand, but that they can piddle around the house. The pacer is here. It's a piece of equipment that just has made a lot of sense. The biggest downside is I think it looks intimidating. You know, if you come in with one of these, everybody's like, whoa, what you got there? But what it does is it gives you support around the trunk. Have you guys seen these? Pretty much. Support through the forearms, kind of like how babies get their strength through their head and neck, get up, weight bear. And then a seat, it can be a firm seat or one of a more stretchy kind of seat, and then handles for you to help with. So if anybody would like more instruction on this, feel free to come up to me at the end. But there are so many advantages to this. You do not have to be, it's kind of like the easy stand. You can have contractures at your hips and knees and not be able to stand up all the way. You can still use this. The hard part sometimes gets to be getting a person up. So sometimes with the gait belt, and by their side, the back's open, kind of rock them up, right, and up. Help for behavior. If somebody gets antsy, you get them up in this. Their arms are being positionally supported, so they don't, it's got a lot of advantages. And you can change attends in a standing position. You can take that click, click, click off, or you can keep it on so that they don't roll backwards. If you have enough at your facility that you don't have to keep readjusting them for different people, that's a real plus. Any other comments on these? They do make a wide and a tall. There are a few people, if they're very ataxic or they start going fast around a corner, that they can get tippy in it. So you do have to watch it. But they're great for aerobic exercise. I think it's the one piece of equipment that individuals with cerebral palsy can stand and walk and actually get their heart rate up. And I hope I'm done now. This is a different size. They also make a dynamic style that's great, that allows you to move. Because when we walk, we don't just walk totally in one plane. We actually kind of shift our weight a little, and it helps with that. And it also helps with the transfers, because you can lower the walker, bring it close to them, get them on the saddle seat, and then raise it up. So it eliminates some of that walking.
Anne-Marie? The base on the dynamic sander in the back, that's wider as well.
Oh, okay.
So if somebody has like a foot drag, it kind of
Keeps them
from rolling over their foot as it goes past.
Great. So we talked about hands-on assist and verbal. We talked about some walking aids. Paulo's going to review some of the information about the use of mechanical lifts.